welcome everyone. It's really wonderful to be here. We'd like to really thank the Canadian Embassy especially for hosting. It's a delight when we have someone like the Canadian Embassy do something for us like this. I think it's a good sign of how well we're doing and how the issue is moving forward. To introduce those who don't know Pure Earth's work, we're a non-profit all around the world working on pollution and health. Our purpose is to stop kids from getting poisoned from air, water and soil and dying before their time. And of course for their parents to have the same problem. And over the years we've built program work in over 50 countries. And we're fortunate this week to have had a retreat where we brought in some of our leading members from international overseas offices. And they're here now, and we wanted to give them a chance to be able to speak about the work that we're doing in different areas of the pollution agenda. So, why do we do this? The reason is that pollution is an issue that is not particularly well recognized and addressed, but it has an enormous impact in terms of public health. We were behind a report in The Lancet about a year and a half ago, a commission on pollution and health, that showed that 9 million people, 1 in 6 deaths in the world, 9 million deaths per year, are caused by exposure to toxins around the world. And this is, just makes it the largest cause of death in the world. Since then, we've been doing additional research in specific areas of this agenda. And just in lead alone, I'm sure we'll hear a lot from the group here about lead. We'll put out a paper soon that shows that almost 700 million children, which is about 1/3 of all the children on the planet, are exposed to lead, have high elevated blood lead levels above the WHO standard. 700 million children. So these numbers just are enormous. They far exceed the sort of things that we're concerned about for most other public health risks, and are completely not understood yet within the health systems from around the world. So our work here is to bring attention to this, bring those governments along with us to recognize how much they can do on environmental health and what an impact they can make in their own populations. So with that being said, I'll let each person introduce themselves. There's the wonderful group of people. I must say the thing that makes me most proud from having started this organization 20 years ago is the quality and the commitment of our staff. And nowhere is that more true than in our international offices. These are all just wonderful, wonderful, caring, brilliant human beings, and I'm really happy we have a chance to hear from them here. So, Daniel Estrada, you're up first.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the Canadian Embassy. Thank you very much to all of you for being here. Before I start, I will ask you one question. I would like you to raise your hands if you like Mexican food. Okay, that's good. Now raise your hands if you like to have lead in your food. Okay, that's good. The problem is that in Mexico we eat a lot of lead because of pottery. Do you know Mexican pottery? It's a brown and it's covered with a glaze. Here I have you seen something similar like this? It's clay, but it's covered with a glaze. So this glaze, in most of the cases, it is lead. So it's lead that it's used, so it can get this nice shiny part. The problem is that this lead gets into the food. So then Mexicans, we are eating a lot of lead because of the pottery. And we are very proud of the pottery. We are very proud of a tradition that has been going on for thousands of years. The problem is that it has lead. So what can we do about it? Actually, there's a lead-free option. But how can you tell if the pottery that you are buying is lead-free or not? How can you tell how much lead do you have in your blood or not? So this is a big problem. As far as we know, 99% of the pottery produced in Mexico is not lead-free. Only 1% is lead-free. So we are working with that 1% and we are taking that 1% to achieve a 100% lead-free. So this is working with the potters. We are training them to use the lead-free glaze, and we are also working with the government. And the government is, it's a problem that they are really not interested because you do not see it, but it is a real problem that is causing our kids to have mental problems because they cannot achieve their intellectual capacity to the maximum. So the lead, basically what happens with lead is that the body thinks that the lead is calcium. So imagine, calcium is very important. We need it for almost everything. So imagine that we are putting lead instead of calcium in our bones, in our liver, in our lungs, in our neurological system. So this is a big problem, and now the government is interested, and now they are addressing the problem. And thanks to what we are doing, now the government has put more money into solving the problem. And what we are doing is that we are taking some pilot projects that the idea is that the government is going to take over. So we are testing children for blood lead levels. We tested baby X, we called him. We found out a baby was born with 40 micrograms per deciliter of lead in his blood. He was born with that level. That level is a problem. And no one would have ever seen that problem if it wasn't for us. He was part of a pilot project, and it was really easy. We just changed the pots that they had, and we gave them lead-free pottery. Nowadays, this kid, he is totally recovered. There's no damage in his brain system because we removed lead at a good time. So what we want to do is that we want to take these pilot projects, to take this knowledge and to scale it up to a national level and to achieve that once in the future we can say that all of the food in Mexico is healthy and it's lead-free. At this moment, that's not able. And at this moment, Pure Earth is the only NGO that is really doing something about it. And we are the ones that have brought the attention into one of the greatest achievements that we have had in Mexico is that for the first time ever, blood lead levels were tested at a national level. We didn't have that. It was because of Pure Earth that we first knew of this problem on one state, and now we know how the problem is in the whole country. So it is because of Pure Earth that we have this possibility of going from 1% lead-free to 100% lead-free. So that's what I'm, most of my time I'm doing. I'm working to remove lead from pottery. But I'm also going to talk about Brazil. Brazil, they also do pottery. I want to show you a nice piece of pottery from Brazil. But they also have other. Have you seen this? This is Brazilian. What we did in Brazil is that we are running a toxic site identification program, which we are running all around the world. We went to Brazil and we found that they were doing this type of pottery with also lead. But this is lead-free. This is the first lead-free plate that was made in Brazil, because one thing that we do is that we have a south-to-south cooperation. So it was Mexican technology that was brought to Brazil. And this is really interesting because it's nothing, it's not like we bring the solution that we want. We tailor the solution. We first need to listen to what's happening, and then we create a solution that is specific for that site. You can see here, it's the children, the most important thing for us. Why is that? We have to pay attention to what our children are learning, to what they are eating. We shouldn't be paying attention if where they are playing is toxic or not, because it shouldn't be toxic. That's at the end what we really want. We want children to be playing in a safe place, in a place that has no toxic. So in Brazil, we still need to find a lot of polluted places. Brazil is huge and it has a lot of toxic problems. We need to find out where these places are, and we need to do something to solve it. And now I'm going to ask another question. which I think that everyone raised their hand when I said Mexican food, but I think you are going to raise it even higher. Who in here likes gold? Okay, who in here would like to buy gold that was produced by intoxicating the miners? We don't want that. And that's a problem that is going on in many countries. How they produce this gold is basically using mercury. Mercury is really bad. It's even worse than lead. So what they do is that they mix the ore with mercury, and then they recover the gold by burning the mercury. And the mercury is airborne, and it gets everywhere. It gets to the water, it gets to the fish. It's a global problem. So what we are doing is also south-to-south cooperation, where techniques that don't use mercury are being trained to those ones that are still using mercury. So this is really interesting because we are changing livelihoods without making many changes to how they do it, and we are absolutely changing people's lives, especially children's lives. But there's one other thing interesting into what we call artisanal small-scale gold mining, and it's deforestation. As you know, the Amazon, which could be considered as the central park of the world, it's been destroyed by many reasons. And one of these reasons is because of mercury. What are they doing? They are destroying the land. They are using mercury. They are getting the gold. So this is a big problem because we have a rainforest and then we don't. And what we've done in Peru, which is a really interesting program, is to bring the rainforest back. And we are not doing it by just putting random plants and just leaving them. We are selecting the plants that are, first of all, they are native plants, and second, we have tested them in that soil, and we know that they are going to grow. And the thing that I like very much about this is that we are not only recovering the land, we are not only getting more interest into the solution, because now the Department of State also wants to join in, the government of Peru wants to join in, Tiffany Foundation wants to join in, and most importantly, we can see that we are bringing hope to the people. I love this picture. Look at his face. He's happy. He has hope. He sees something that he saw that has been destroyed. He sees how it is changing. So that's one very interesting thing that we are doing. We bring hope to people because we are paying attention to the solution, and there's a solution to the toxic. So now it's the turn of Alfonso. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name is Alfonso. My question is, you like Colombia coffee? Sorry for Colombia. I will talk about the similar contamination on lead and mercury, but in different aspects. You can see behind me, this is a picture in a small town called Malambos in the coast of Colombia. The problem there is that in that town was 5 smelters using lead burning. We, under the toxic site investigation program, we find 5 sites contaminated. One is a huge mountain of lead and waste, and the children when they start playing with small rocks, small black rocks, there is 10,000 ppm of lead, pure lead. Then we test also lead in blood. We find 40, 45, 50, 55 micrograms per deciliter when WHO organization say that the maximum is 5. And we try to find many sources. And one of the sources was the mattresses, because they usually don't use shoes to play all day. And when they go to bed, they accumulate of all the contamination in their mattresses. So we did a campaign to change it. At least 150 mattresses we changed. But the contamination is still in other places. Also, we in that mountain we isolate. After we isolate, we reduce the contamination with lead in one place, but we still with the other 3 sites. Also, there is no a real program for the government to assist the health of the people of that community. So we start doing that. We give them all the information, but there is no resource or intention for the central government to do something about letting health. And so we keep working, try to find some resource, and also to try to find the way how to prevent more contamination for the people that is contaminated. Finally, the other is working with mercury. The same say Daniel, the artisanal gold mining, use mercury. There is a new law in Colombia that is no more mercury now in mining, but illegal mining is a problem and still doing damage to the environment. We are trying to work with the Department of State here in the US and trying to find a new technology to extract and recover mercury from the tailings after the process. Maybe how to handle storage and transport of mercury and disposal in a proper way to try to avoid also the contamination of mercury, because we have a lot of illegal mercury in Colombia in many sites. So that's the only that I want to share with you. I hope you are very interested in this topic. So, Luis.
Good evening, everyone. Unfortunately, I cannot come up with good questions like that or Alfonso. My name is Budi Susilorini from Indonesia, and please allow me to introduce you to Ibu Leni Marlina, as shown in this slide. So, Ibu Leni Marlina is a woman miner from Tewang Pejangan village in the province of Central Kalimantan. So Kalimantan is one of the big islands among 17,000 islands that we have in Indonesia. And artisanal and small-scale gold mining, or ASGM, is a livelihood for thousands of people in Indonesia, and mercury or gold or amalgamation, the mixture between gold and mercury is still being widely practiced in Indonesia. But Ibu Leni Marlina, with 9 other women miners, were able to form a group, and they recover gold without using mercury. And also, they are capable to purify the gold without mercury and not depend on the gold shops to do the purification, so that they can sell it directly to the jeweler. And they also have the capability to do bookkeeping to make sure that all the gold they produce are well documented. So, in collaboration with local NGO and local government, Pure Earth is proud to empower these women, to provide training to these women miners to be able to apply mercury-free technique, but we also connected them with local jewelers who is willing to pay 20% higher price than market price. So this motivates these women miners to keep continuing adopting the mercury-free gold and produce mercury-free gold that this jeweler won from the ASGM. So we have been working with artisanal and small-scale gold mining and mercury issues in Indonesia since 2009 until present. And we have been working with the government in national and subnational level, and now we are working more with these women miners because we know that they are capable to do so, and by empowering these women, we are not helping only for them to earn more money for their family, but we also help them to stay away from mercury hazard, not only for themselves but also for contaminate the environment or human health. And we are also think that this is very important, especially now that the government of Indonesia ratified the Minamata Convention on Mercury. So we really want to scale up this project because we get interest from more jewelers to get more mercury-free product from the ASTM. So we want to train more women to adopt mercury-free and then channel them to this market to meet with their demand. Thank you.
Hello everyone, so I guess I have to have a question also. Who wants to go to the Philippines right now? Yeah, when we think about the Philippines, I think we think about like the best islands, you know, like the beaches and go swimming and everything. But unfortunately, there are also sites like rivers, especially in the Metro Manila, that are really, really polluted. But before I go into, this is one of the areas, and that's just one day that we went there to do a cleanup. So today you see it like full of water hyacinths, but the next day it could be like you can walk literally on the river because it's full of trash, like all kinds of trash. And you wonder, is it still a river or is it ground? So we've been doing this with HSBC for 6 years now. For 4 years, we've done it in Marilao, Megawayan, Obando River System. It's one of the heavily polluted river systems in Metro Manila, draining right into the Manila Bay. And we help fish farmers there practice the proper preparation of their ponds and also do some testing of their water quality. Like we have these kits that they can use to monitor. It's basically capacitating them to help themselves, because the way we see it as Pure Earth is like pollution source, and then you have the pathway, and you have the people. Now, the best solution to pollution is really to solve it at source, but that will take like a long way. We had to have the government to do some programs and policies, and just from the national government to the regional and then to the local government. So while we're doing something on that end, we also have to do something to cut the pathway of pollution from the source to the population. And that's one would be identified, the fish farms, because the source of their water is polluted rivers. So you have to do something at the fish farms. So we pilot tested some remediation technologies that are practical and doable. And we learned that even it's just the proper pond preparation can help actually reduce like pollution in the fish farms. And we're happy that one of the fish farmers there, they're headed by a woman also. We call her Ate Sita. We went there and they're just like a group of local fish farmers. But through our project, we help them organize, like have some officers and then vision, mission, and then action plans, and how do they do financial management, and how can they also appreciate, you know, that fish farming is not just putting fishes there and then harvesting. It's all about managing your environment as well. So we gave them test kits, so they sample the water themselves and see if it's good for their fishes or not. And it's been good because we were able to help them register as a formal organization. And what that means is that now they can access more of the programs of the government, like they can write their own proposals now. They can go straight to like governors or mayors and say, this is what we want, and they've been getting grants and like boats or fish nets or anything that they need. And we're happy because they're really very happy about the Pure Earth work. And it's all about really the people that we're helping. No matter what you do, if people are not being helped, then we must rethink our strategies, but we're happy about this. And not only that, since HSBC was so happy with the accomplishment of those 4 years, which we did not only for fish farmers, but also like river quality monitoring and fish quality monitoring with volunteers from HSBC. They liked that part so much. Like, we really get so much, so many requests for many activities so they can participate, because it's not the usual picking up of trash, although we do that also, but there's like a scientific thing. They feel like scientists on that one day that they can sample water, the water and then the sediments, and we get results as to how good or bad, although it's sadly mostly bad. But it makes them appreciate like knowing this not only in their heads, but really like first-hand information. They really see it for themselves. And so HSBC renewed for another 2 years, and this time we expanded to like 2 more areas in Metro Manila, right into Metro, Quezon City and Muntinlupa City, where HSBC is. And so it's really literally giving back to the community, and we're happy that these local governments are among the top performers in terms of like the Manila Bay Rehabilitation Program of the government. So we're happy that the people we're helping are actually doing good in terms of like accomplishments, doing this weekly cleanups, and we help them develop river waste management plans, which is new, something that they don't usually do. And a lot of interest has come into helping communities really learn how to come together from the private sector and the public sector, and us as an NGO to put our acts together and do something that's really impactful that will help save lives, especially along the communities that are along the river systems. On the other hand, we're also happy that in 2017 we're able to clean up a lead-contaminated site in Pampanga. This site is for 20 years, the industry has been operating there and no one is stopping them, the people are being affected. But with our project, we were able to test the soil, and they yielded like really high levels of lead. And so we had funds for cleanup, we tested the lead levels, and the workers, the industry are really like, literally all of them are beyond our desk. Like, it's like the maximum is greater than 65. That's the result, right? It will give you, and all of them are like above 65. And then the wives were so surprised that even though they're just staying at home, they also have high blood lead levels. But what's really heartbreaking for us are the children, because they also have like 20 to 40 or 50 micrograms per deciliter of lead in their blood. And the local health workers were also surprised, because when we were doing this, we had them first tested, and they were surprised to also find lead in their blood, even if they're not residing in that particular area. So we were able to clean it up. Now it's all covered up, and the industry is not there, because it also led the municipality to update their land use and zoning policy. And the decision of the municipality right now is not to accept or allow this kind of livelihood or industry unless the municipality is already capacitated and ready to like monitor and put the controls necessary to prevent, you know, their residents from being affected. So that's it. I'm Lara Ibanez. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Lara Ibanez, and I've been with Pure Earth Philippines for like 7 years. I thought I'm only gonna stay for like 1 year, because the first time I rode a boat along the polluted river, I felt literally sick. But now I'm used to it. So we're like, we call ourselves the pollution tourists. So if you're from Pure Earth and you go to the Philippines, you don't get to see the nice sites. You get to you see the polluted sites.
Hi, I'm Karthi Sandiya. Unlike my other colleagues on this panel, I am not from the field, so I can't bring you postcards from the pollution front. I live in green Washington, D.C. But I'm originally from India, and I'd like to tell you what Pure Earth is doing in India. Just to put this in context, referring back to the numbers, the horrific numbers that Richard had. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that Richard had mentioned. 9 million pollution-related deaths globally. Biggest single country figure is India, 2.5 million. Lead, 700 million children affected worldwide, more than 100 million children in India alone. So India is clearly the most polluted country in the world. And here naturally had to do something there. But it's such a large country that the only way in which we can approach this problem is through the government. And we have decided, a strategic decision that we took was to concentrate on lead. So our program and operations in India are almost exclusively focused on lead. And we work with the Policy Commission, it used to be called the Planning Commission, but the present government changed it from a Planning Commission to a Policy Commission, and with the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change. So with them, we have a 4-point program. The first one is to do a source apportionment study. What are the exposures to lead that Indian citizens and children face? We suspect that the bulk of it is from environmentally unsound recycling of used lead-acid batteries. And more than half of the used lead-acid batteries, ULABs for short, more than half of them end up in the informal sector, backyard recyclers, who do their work in environmentally unsound ways, release lead into the atmosphere. Children play in schoolyards next to where they operate, and it's awful. But it may not be the only exposure to lead that there exists. You have lead in paint, pottery, as in Mexico and Brazil, cooking utensils, even in women's cosmetics. So the first thing we need to do is to find out what are the exposures to lead. So we do a source apportionment study. India is a large country, so we're going to start with one state. Hopefully it will be a representative state, it's Bihar. So we're working with the State Pollution Control Board to do this study, and we will start it probably just after the monsoons, do the testing of lead in blood in children and in adults. So August, September is when we start the study, and we hope we will find it possible to complete it by around February, March next year. That will give the government an idea as to what is the situation on exposures to lead. And then they have to take some policy decisions on that basis. But we already suspect, and we know, that a large part of the exposures are from ULABs, batteries. So the government has a regulation, battery management and handling rules, passed in 2010, out of date and not very effective. So we've been dialoguing with them, and we've submitted a bunch of recommendations for upgrading and improving the regulations. We did this in October last year, and they told us that they virtually bought all our recommendations and were going to issue revised recommendations. We checked in March, they hadn't done it yet. They said, yes, we will do it as soon as the elections are over. Elections have come and have gone, so we now need to go back and ask them what they plan to do about it. And we hope that in the next month or two, those regulations will be issued as yet. But the big problem, of course, in India, as in other developing countries, is that you can have those regulations, but they need to be enforced. So that will be the next step, to try and prompt the government into enforcing those regulations. A third item that we will be engaging with the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Environment is to try and improve the collection of data on the health impact of exposure to lead, both mortality as well as intellectual impairment. And lastly, in due course, we will help the government to mount a public awareness and public education campaign, telling citizens what lead does to them and how they can protect themselves. In addition to all of this work with the government, we are also doing our normal work that we do in every other country that we operate in, which is to clean up sites. The work of the government is important because there's no point in cleaning up if pollution is ongoing. But once that is in place, we do cleanup work as well. We've done one in Patna, which is the capital of Bihar. Another one that we are going to be doing there is take a bunch of informal recyclers who are now operating in residential neighborhoods and take them and place them in an industrial estate where, first of all, it won't be residential, and secondly, it's easier for the government to keep an eye on them and monitor what they're doing. it's not just the backyard recyclers. Even some of the licensed smelters are defective and have old technology. There's one in the south of India, in Tamil Nadu, which is right next to a primary school. This is a typical situation where you have a backyard recycler, in this case, actually a licensed smelter, and within 1 or 2 mile radius there would be a school, an elementary school or a primary school or whatever. So children are being sent by parents to a place to learn, and it's a place where their ability to learn is being degraded. So it's really awful, tragic. So in this place in Tamil Nadu, Vellore, we have been asking we've inspected the smelter, we've given him a recommendation as to how he can get his technology up to speed. He hasn't moved a muscle. So we are going to try and shut him down, get the government to shut him down, and then clean up the school. We're hoping that with the threat from the government to shut him down, he will then make the investments to upgrade his technology. If he doesn't, well then he just gets shut down. So it's a huge problem in India, part of the reason why I live in Washington, D.C. That's it.
So I'm Elena Rahona. I'm here representing the Africa region, where we currently have a footprint in 8 different countries and a couple of others that we are in various forms of engagement with. Our programs run the gamut really in scope and involvement, and a lot of that has to do with both internal needs identified by the government and community, and as well as needs from funders, World Bank, for example, the United Nations. We are doing, right now we currently have boots on the ground in Tanzania and Senegal with our toxic sites identification program that people mentioned earlier. We're looking at mercury sites at the request of governments where both respective countries wanted to get a sense of what the footprint of mercury contamination through artisanal and small-scale gold mining was. We are working in pesticides in Ethiopia, and this program here that you see is a program that we're doing in Cameroon. We're actually really excited because in the early fall, we are scheduled to go to Cameroon to do a cleanup of 2 different pesticide sites there. And that work actually is the culmination of about 3 years of engagement in that country with that specific program. So we went over there, we identified a lot of sites contaminated with pesticides. We took that list and ranked those, and out of that 6 sites surfaced that were deemed incredibly caustic and needed further investigation. We sent another team who did detailed assessments of those 6 sites. And from that, we took that information, spoke with government, spoke with the communities, and 2 of those sites are now the sites that we're going to clean up. We're incredibly pleased that along with that, what you see there, that's Barbara Jones. She's one of our technical advisors. She will be leading the technical side of the program, of the project. But we're really pleased that also in addition to that, accompanying her will be a woman from Senegal named Fatoumata, who is one of our investigators there. She is also in the field right now looking at mercury sites, but her background is in toxicology. And she expressed a lot of interest and great intelligence in learning more about cleanup projects. So we will be sending her to accompany Barbara into the field to get that firsthand experience. And I think that's one of the things is in our region and as an organization that we try and do is to capacitate and empower our staff to learn the skills so that when we're not there, they can take that back to their communities or back to their regions. This also applies, another example of that is in Zambia, where we have done a massive cleanup project. This is a picture, this is at the town of Kabwe, which Jack Caravanos there is super familiar with. In fact, he was one of the people who deemed this place in the world one of the most contaminated on the planet. We went into that site and we have so far managed, we found the neighborhood there that was the most contaminated. Soil contamination, the limit of risk exposure is 400 parts per million. And we found communities where kids were playing in their front yard at 30 and 40,000 parts per million. So we found this the most contaminated. We cleaned up 80 of those houses. We laid geothermal geotextile fabric down. It prevents the contamination from seeping through. We laid that over this contaminated soil and capped it with clean soil in these kids' yards. But it's part of our legacy, the same way that we're trying to capacitate our staff and our people there. We're also trying to demonstrate that solutions are feasible, they're doable, and that we can accomplish them with not a lot. So we're sort of using the site in Kabwe as a demonstration both to funders and the community themselves that this can be done, and it can be done in a straightforward way. And so lastly, want another reason that we do the work we do. This is Siwane Judith St. Fort, who is not here tonight. She's the regional director for Africa. She was recently in Senegal doing a training, and she had the opportunity to visit Siwane, who she essentially represents the foundation of what we do and why we do it. We became involved in her community about 10 years ago. She was working at a lead acid battery recycling site, which some people here have brought up before. A similarly contaminated town. While she was working at this site, she gave birth to 5 children. 4 of those children died. They died as a direct result of lead exposure. So we became involved around this time. She was still working at the site. We connected with the Ministry of Health in Senegal. We came into the town where she was working. We met her. We cleaned up the smelter where she was working. We launched educational campaigns both to educate the community on the dangers of lead exposure and health. We also facilitated workshops on alternative livelihoods and offered options for what can you do to earn an income that's less dangerous. And most importantly as well, we cleaned up the site where she was working. We cleaned her house. As Alfonso mentioned, people track into their houses the contamination. So we cleaned her house and those of people in the community. Before the intervention, blood lead levels were taken, blood was drawn, orders of magnitude higher than what is acceptable risk. After we cleaned up, blood lead levels were taken and there was a dramatic decrease in the level of blood. What's lovely about this story is that 10 years later, when Judith went back to visit, and I think there have been subsequent visits along the way, the Ministry of Health through the Pollution Control Board has been monitoring blood lead levels in the community, and recently they did hers again. Not only had the blood go down after the intervention, but it stayed down for these past 10 years. She is below the level, her son is below the level. She is happy, she is healthy, she is not working in lead. Her son is happy, thriving, healthy, and I can't think of a more successful story than happiness and health. I think anything you do, whether it's a cleanup or just in life, it's happiness and success are what you are after, happiness and health. So I think she sort of encapsulates that we're going after, and Judith had the privilege of speaking with her 2 weeks ago.
Hi, very nice to see everybody, and thank you again, our Canadian friends, for providing the opportunity. I'm Peter Sharov, and I work in the countries of Eastern Europe and Central Asia. I understand everybody is overwhelmed with the information that was presented and the level of technical details. These guys are such excellent experts. It's an honor to be on the team with them. And the work that they do is the same that we do in my region, the region that I'm responsible for. So my job is to design these projects and run them, oversee, and make sure that we achieve the same results as in all these other countries. So I cannot speak about all the countries of my region because there are just too many, so I will just focus on the 4 of them to give an impression of what we are doing. So the first one will be Mongolia. And if you can imagine the map, it's like a sandwich between Russia and China. And the processes that were in those countries in the 90s, they had a great impact on Mongolia because with the collapse of the economy and the changes ongoing, a lot of people became very poor, and some of them lost their jobs, and they were looking for other ways of living. And one of the easy ways, well, not so easy, but they found out to find some gold and sell it. How did you do that? Well, it's a big country with lots of gold deposits, so you can just, if you know where to look, you green it, you crush it, you pan it, and then you have some gold to sell. And of course, if you're not trained to do it, you will do it, you manage it somehow, but you will not be the best. And the easiest way is to use mercury, to dilute the gold in mercury, to burn it, and expose yourself, your family, your kids, without knowing how dangerous this is. And this is the common problem that was already described here. And as many as 100,000 people in Mongolia are engaged in this kind of business. And how to reach them, and how to identify places that are contaminated with mercury because of that. It's much more difficult than finding a needle in a pile of hay. Because when you see this endless desert, where to look for it? How to talk to those people? Using mercury for gold mining is forbidden in Mongolia, like in most of the countries. So who will tell you that they're using mercury? No one, no one. So the method that we so the method that we were employing, we brought some experts from the Philippines, from our successful project there, to train Mongolians, train passionate Mongolians, interested people, the methods, mercury-free methods. And for them, actually, it was interesting because they could be more efficient at washing gold and making money without the danger of being exposed to the government for using illegal mercury. And at the same time, we were educating them about the dangers, the health dangers. And these people, we certified them, and we encouraged them and provided some incentives to go out and teach others. And those, in turn, could teach more people. And we did it in several regions of Mongolia. So each of the trainees became a trainer who could train others. So that was the pyramid model, which allowed us in a matter of 1 year to train more than 1,000 people. And we would like to continue, even though we're short of funds, because you need to buy pens and to do all those workshops and bring people and then oversee the results. We saw that over 70% of people we taught actually stick to that method because it's beneficial for them. So this is the story of Mongolia, where we would very much like to continue this work. This is one of the examples. This picture is taken from Tajikistan. And Tajikistan, the biggest problem the country is facing is DDT. Everybody knows DDT. There was a Nobel Prize for discovering this chemical, which was thought to be a solution to everything and absolutely harmless to people. Well, who knew? It's carcinogenic and toxic and everything that we didn't want people to come across. And in the Soviet Union, they started producing it in huge quantities and started treating everything. Like, how they got rid of malaria in Tajikistan and other Central Asian countries? They assigned a day, at that day at 6 a.m., at the source of every river and every lake, there were trucks loaded with DDT, which was unloaded into all the rivers. And they use it for everything. If you can do mass production at a big scale, they spray all the fields. It's like anywhere in the Soviet Union, you dig a little bit of soil, you sample it. It was actually my task as a sophomore when I was studying in the university in Vladivostok. And you sample it, you find DDT. It's literally everywhere. And then after the DDT was banned, what happened to all those huge stocks? They remained on many sites. And some people actually continue to using it. So right now, what we are trying to do is to identify the places where it still remains, some old storages, repackage it, and clean it up, because otherwise people will continue using it and expose it. And people do not realize how much danger it is. Like one of the examples is people, they will occupy a former storage, make it a house out of it, and it smells horribly. Especially in the summer when it's, the temperatures are high, it just smells, it drives you nuts, it makes you nauseous and stuff. So the family is not able to live there in the summer, but in the winter when it's cold, they have to live there. So they have to withstand the smell, and of course, the health is deteriorating. And some people use bricks from broken storages and stuff, use it to build other houses, other construction. It's crazy, people do not know about the dangers. So this is the work that we're doing in Tajikistan. We're trying to tell people they should not be doing that. We have a coalition of 25 NGOs right now across the whole country to spread this information, to identify those contaminated areas, to clean them up. And this is a picture of a site that we cleaned up. They had a rabbit and a chicken that died from chemicals, of that family, from the exposure. Can you imagine exposure of people? And this is another country. This is a beautiful area in Armenia. This was the most contaminated with lead area in Armenia. It was contaminated with lead in the 13th and 14th century because there was a copper smelter over there. Lead, if you do not clean it up, if you don't do anything about it, it's not very mobile, so it'll stay for a millennia at one spot. And if you have children there, they will be exposed. They will be exposed, and this was, of course, a tourist attraction and a public area. Every year they have shish kebab festivals for the community and for the nearby communities. Kind of going over there, and the levels of lead are just, well, you imagine, it's a former industrial area, lead smelter, copper smelter. Yeah, so this is actually them, the workers unrolling the gel textile that Lara has mentioned, and then we kept it with clean soil, and now we planted grass, so it's going to be all green and beautiful, and they're welcome to have more barbecues over there. And these are actually two pictures from Azerbaijan. Yeah, that was before, yeah, and this is after. So our project. Azerbaijan was in the Soviet Union the center of chemical production for the whole country. So they produced DDT, they produced all kinds of chemicals that were required by the industry. So this was the settling point in the center of chemical production of Azerbaijan, Sumgay. So all sorts of persistent organic stuff, contaminants that could be thought of, that's there. It's the PCBs, the benzopyrene, all the carcinogenic things. And so we partnered with the authorities of Azerbaijan and with the industry actually to clean it up, because they wanted to clean it up. They didn't know how to do it. They didn't have any experience, and here we are. This is what we do. We help because we do such sites and we clean this up. And my friend Rovshan, who is our coordinator there, we're talking that maybe in 10 years from now we'll go there and we'll sit under those trees and we'll be so happy we did it. So I can talk and talk for hours. Of course, I can talk more to everybody. And the stories that we told here is just the top of the iceberg. This is the picture from Kyrgyzstan, where we did the lead cleanup. We replaced the sand that they were using from tailings. They were taking sand contaminated with lead from tailings and brought it for construction purposes, and then children played with it. It was like red color. It was over 2,000 parts per million lab, which is It's 5 times higher than the minimum requirement of what it could be. Yes, and children are all over it. So we replaced it with clean sand. So that was our project in Kyrgyzstan. So I will welcome you to approach us and ask more questions. We'll be more happy to tell you more because we have many more projects that we are doing and we would want to do. Thank you very much.
So thanks again to all this wonderful team. Thank you very much, Ryan, for being here. We've got some time for some questions. Anyone have anything to ask this group? Please.
So my name is Shazia Rafi and I'm involved with Air Quality Asia, and I work with Richard on the Sustainable Development Goals. One of the goals is Goal 12, which has within it a target 12.4. It looks at reducing the effect of chemical contamination. That looks at reducing the effect of chemical contamination and the release of that chemicals into the air, water, and soil. Unfortunately or fortunately, the target date for meeting some of that requirement is 2020. So I'm wondering how the work that you're doing in each of these specific countries is feeding into the reports that those, or is it parallel to the reports that the countries are making to the UN? Because it's important that we hold these governments, feet to the fire on what they have agreed to meet as a challenge for the international community. Thank you.
One of you like to respond? Lara? Yeah, take this one.
This one seems to be working now.
I can speak for the Philippines because recently we had our health and pollution action planning, which is actually one of the biggest things that Pure Earth and most especially like Global Alliance on Health and Pollution has been pushing. And in the Philippines, the situation is there is already an existing interagency committee on environment and health. So we're not starting from scratch. And then they have the National Environment and Health Action Plan. So we position the HPAP as something that's complementing the existing NAHAP. And we did all these exercises of like updating the NAHAP to fit into the Sustainable Development Goals. And because we were there as part of the multi-stakeholder consultations, and we're able to like include these concerns, issues that we're working on in the pollution arena, to be included as parts of the things that we have to look into and we can contribute to, so that we can all have this report that can fit into the accomplishment of the Sustainable Development Goals. I don't think we may be able to do it like by 2020, but at least to have something that's of national government level plan is something big for us already.
Anyone else? Budi, do you have any thoughts on this? Have you seen 12.4?
Actually, the work that we have been doing and try to help the government of Indonesia to reduce mercury emissions and releases from the artisanal and small-scale gold mining. Maybe you have read from the UNEP Global Mercury Partners assessment that ASGM is actually the biggest contributor in terms of the anthropogenic mercury emissions to the air. So when we started our project in Indonesia, we introduced this mercury vapor capture that works 95% to capture the mercury vapor to be emitted into the air. So in 1 year, we can capture we could capture like 3 tons of mercury rather than being emitted to the air. So now, like the government of Indonesia also developing the national action plan, and they set a target to reduce mercury emission to the air, getting less and less and less. So it is going to be like a continuous responsibility, also moral responsibility as an Indonesian also as a part of Pure Earth, how to help the government of Indonesia accomplish that goal. Thank you.
Any more questions? And we can all please enjoy each other's company with some snacks and some drinks. But Carol, you have something you want to add?
Well, we just thank all of you for being here, and all of this happens because of important support that we're receiving from individuals and governments and agencies. Is there another question? Oh, sorry.
My name is Teresa, and I'm from Mount Sinai. And I realize the answer to my question may vary depending on your location, but the microphone went
That's
off.
the dead one, yeah.
But when Pure Earth goes into a setting to do lead surveillance and lead testing,
Yeah.
is Pure Earth processing those tests themselves, or are you processing those with local laboratories, and sort of is there, and maybe just one or two of you could answer this, but.
I think I can give a, Peter, go ahead.
Yeah. The normal way, we don't do it ourselves. We work with the Ministry of Health of this country, and then so he's telling us. And then this is done through local hospitals. So what we do, we provide, because a lot of countries don't have access to it, we provide the lead care, we provide the training, we buy the supplies, and then the doctors do it. And of course they share the data with us so that we can assess the baseline in our progress.
And that talks to the majority of the time we're using lead care 2 equipment. That's 95% of the time. Occasionally we'll send it off for spectrographic analysis as well. Catherine?
Yes, I have a question. Peter, you mentioned that at least for the gold cleaning in one of the countries you're doing, the new way of doing it without mercury was actually more efficient, and so it was embraced by the people who are trying to earn a living. And I was wondering if that is that a commonality for all of these regions, all of these countries? Are the ways of dealing with batteries and both lead and mercury? Are you able to provide the people who are trying to earn a living and are obviously not aware of the poisoning that they're creating for themselves and the environment? But are you able to provide alternative ways of doing these that are actually economically beneficial for the individual, for the communities?
The gold panning is the best example we have of that. Of course, it depends on the geology in the particular country and the nature of the gold deposits there. So, in some cases, it is similar, and when we can use the experience of other countries and transfer it from Philippines to Mongolia and to South America, the better panning practices, because we compared all stages, the crushing, the sluicing, of processing the gold-containing deposits. So the improved panning techniques, that was our best thing for some of the deposits that we worked with, and helped people. Like before, they would throw away like half the gold. And they didn't know about it, and they didn't know how to do it properly. Of course, they didn't learn it very well from the beginning, and then we provided them that opportunity to help them.
Just alternatives.
Yeah, I can also say that the lead-free glaze that Danielle is working, it's cheaper than the leaded glaze. So there's a cost saving for people going to the lead-free glaze. It's not large, but it's there. The ULabs, having people stop doing this battery recycling, they can't recycle batteries in this informal way.
Yeah.
It's the cheapest way to do it. So that one doesn't have an economic benefit for the people that are actually doing it. We just have to stop them doing it and help them with other livelihoods.
Right.
Yeah, so it does vary a little bit. Yes, sir.
I have a question. Andrew Burkett from NYU. I like the fact that you did it women incorporated into the training mechanisms that I've seen. Have you received any pushback from any of the countries as far as incorporating women into training, whether it being from your group or people on the ground trying to teach other people to teach your teaching programs?
Well, actually, in Mongolia, that was women were the best learners and the best trainers.
I think that's a common perception that we see everywhere. It's because also the association with children's health is so important that there's such a stronger pickup amongst women in so much of this work. It's really useful.
And even Peter, you said like the women miners are more patient, right?
Absolutely.
In like doing this careful planning, so another plus for the women.
The patience is golden in this
yes.
case.
So I'd just like to acknowledge Ambassador Blaise is here. Thank you very much for having us in this space.
I just want to say, can you hear?
Yes.
I just want to say how delighted we are to be your home this evening, and we've really enjoyed here the mission working with GAP and Pure Earth. It's something that we very much care about, and again yesterday doing International Environmental Day, we heard again about pollution and how it's the silent killer of millions. And your interest here and engaging in this is really a step in the right direction, and so we look forward to doing more of these things. And I certainly hope you were comfortable and well hosted. We're proud of our new space. So hopefully during the mingling we can maybe put a little bit of mood lighting. But anyway, again, thank you. Merci beaucoup. Merci. Merci.
Thank you.
I know, I've got the 2 mics. No, listen, we want to mingle, we want to thank you for being here. It's you that helps make all this happen, being supportive in all your ways, raising awareness, funds. This takes a village, as you can clearly see. Look at all these villages, and stay, enjoy. We're here till 7, so let's keep the conversation going.
Thank you all.